for the Plan Commission meeting for April 18, 2023. The free item in the agenda is to call to the order. So do we have quorum? Yes. Okay. So next is approval of the minutes. So I move approval of the minutes for the March 21st, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Comment? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the March 21st meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. The motion carries. Next in our agenda is public appearances for non-agenda items. Do we have anyone here for non-agenda items that want to speak? Nope. Okay, so we close this. Next in our agenda is the review of the agenda. Any question, comment? Everyone is fine with the agenda? Okay, so we move forward. So the next is we are moving to the agenda items, and the first topic is we are opening the public hearing for the conditional use CU-2499-23, request by Robin Logger, agent of Yahara Material Inc. and Fitchburg Hill for a conditional use to allow for a non-metallic mineral extraction operation in order to operate a new quarry on property associated with 6117 Lacey Road. So we are going to start the public hearing. So everyone that wants to speak, we are going to call you, and you can speak here 3 minutes. You have every person to speak, and we are going to, because there are too many people, and I think that is willing to speak, so we are going to keep at 3 minutes each person. And Gabriel is going to be in charge of the time, okay? So who is the first one?
Okay, let's start with the lady that was just here. So, Basha.
Okay. So first is Basha LLC. She wished to speak, and is only is in support or against?
She didn't make a decision.
So she wants to register only. Okay, we don't know yet.
She wants to speak.
She wants to speak? Okay, where is Basha? Yeah. No, you need to come to the microphone, and you have to say your name and your address.
Yeah. Okay, so I am talking on behalf of my husband and myself.
Okay.
We are the owners of Basha LLC. Our concern is that after 5 years, when the land will be leveled off, that it will be authorized for development of housing and not continue, they will come with extension and say that it will still be a quarry. I want a stipulation that it will be definitely a development for housing.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So next is Mary Berger. She wished to speak, and she's in opposition of the above matter. Where is Mary Berger? Yeah.
And you're limiting to 3 minutes?
Yes, correct.
Okay. From the Ag Committee, we've learned that this is pretty much a done deal. It has happened over a 2-year period. The city has been working closely with Yahara Materials to develop this for housing. It appears that the reason that this is being permitted is that it will help the city level the property for housing. Now that makes sense, except for one thing. You are citing a quarry now in the city of Fitchburg where we have technology across the street, we have housing across the street, we have bikers, we have numerous people using the area for just walking, and to benefit the city as well as Yahara, you are willing to put a quarry, another quarry within the city limits. This does not make sense from an aesthetic or human concern. I believe that the people of Fitchburg want more from their representatives, whether they be people on a plan commission or their elected officials, to say that a money trade-off is not worth placing a quarry in our midst of our city. This will become known as the way Fitchburg does business. I don't believe that is what Fitchburg is all about. I would suggest that instead you look to the way this was developed. Richardsons were able to sell this property to a concern called Fitchburg Hills, which you all knew about. That, in fact, is Yahara Materials. They share the same address. Yes, it's a way for Fitchburg to get a planned neighborhood, but is it the right way? Is it what we expect from our elected and appointed officials? You represent us to do what is right. This does not appear to be right. We do not use the opportunities because they're there to benefit us in a way that is detrimental to both the community, the bikers who come in, and those of us who are taxpayers. Yahara Mills will not, or Yahara Materials and Fitchburg Hills will not be paying for the taxes to repair the roads. The rest of the taxpayers
your 3
in
minutes are up.
Fitchburg will. Thank you.
Thank you. So, next.
Yep.
What is?
You can go ahead and announce him, but he does not want to speak.
Okay.
He's in opposition.
So next person is Daniel Jorgensen, and he's in opposition to the item, Agenda 5A, but he wants to register only. So I wish to oppose opening a new quarry in this area. Okay. Next is Leslie Jorgensen, and she wished to speak in opposition to this. So Leslie, where are you? Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to try to sit out of the sun, but I don't know if I can find a spot here. Oh, all the way down. Otherwise, I can't read my notes. My name is Leslie Jorgensen. I live at 2325 South Seminole Highway. That's the last house on the south side of, at the end of Seminole Highway, where it intersects with Wayland Road. I'm opposed to the conditional use permit for Fitchburg Hills and Yahara Materials. There are currently 4 quarries within a mile of this proposed quarry. We have Hammersley across Lacey Road to the north. We have the Hammersley that is next to the proposed quarry, which is currently owned by Fitchburg Minerals. We have Payne and Dolan just west of Commerce Parkway and north of the proposed quarry. And we have Wingbrook Stone on the west side of Verona Road and Highway PD. Fitchburg is known as a biking city, but apparently only if you stay on the bike paths, because the truck traffic that comes with these quarries is dangerous to those road bikers trying to get out of town to the south. And the reason I know this is because I live right on Seminole Highway, where all the bikers come down on the bike path, if they're families or they're slower bikers, but the speeding bikers, you know, the guys that are really working out, they come down on Seminole Highway. And these trucks are going to have to go past them, you know, and I see it all the time now with the other quarries in the neighborhood. No mention was made about the southbound traffic in the current CUP or the city memo from our city staff. And this needs to be added to the CUP, because in the last meeting we were just in an hour ago, the Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, it's now been decided, or Yahara has decided, that they are going to go north on Commerce, to east on PD, to south on Fish Hatchery Road, so they can go south, rather than coming down Seminole Highway. So you're going to go north on Commerce, all the way to PD, take a right on PD, past the theater, going to go all the way down PD over to Fish Hatch, and then go south. That's where they're going to take all this traffic. And if that's the case, that's great by me, because I don't have to listen to those trucks coming by my house. Because I cannot be out in my yard in the summer without putting in earplugs. I can't garden at all because it's so loud with the trucks. Item number 24 on the staff recommendations states all trucks must have muffler systems that meet industry standards. Does this include the subcontracted trucks that are hauling for Yahara materials, the trucks that actually affect the citizens on a daily basis? Item number 26 on the staff recommendation says engine braking is prohibited for vehicles entering, leaving, or while on site. Why is this prohibited just in their location? This is exactly the problem we have with trucks in our rural residential neighborhood. I contacted the city 2 years ago about getting a no engine braking sign put up in our neighborhood and was told they only install those signs on entrances to the city.
Leslie, your 3 minutes are up.
Oh, boy, I spoke.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Mike Scarmon. He wished to speak. He will answer question if needed. So, Mike, where are you?
You don't need to speak.
No?
Just if questions kind of.
A question? Okay. Oh, you are. Okay. Oh, okay. So next, one of the neighbors.
It's like there's two.
No. Last.
These are all
What about this one?
different agenda items.
This one?
Same agenda. I don't think those two are.
Together. Okay. And this one? We have another one here.
You can bring him up, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. So we are going next to the people that are on Zoom.
I don't think you have any yet.
Anyone?
Just those two we already.
Yahara. So we don't have anyone.
Just ask if there's anything else.
Okay. Anyone else wants to speak about this matter? We are still in public meeting, in public hearing. No? Because I want to close the public hearing soon. No? Okay. What?
Yeah, we have our presentation.
Yeah, so they are from Yahara. Yeah, so. Okay, so I am closing the public hearing. And next, we are moving to the, someone could move the motion.
I'll move approval.
Can you repeat the whole?
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Do you do a motion? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll move approval of conditional use CU 249923, request by Robin Loger, agent for Yahara Materials, Inc. and Fitchburg Hills LLC for a conditional use to allow for a non-metallic mineral extraction operation in order to operate a new quarry on property associated with 6117 Lacey Road.
I'll second.
Second by Rich.
Is this with the 50 conditions as noted by staff?
Yes.
Okay, so, oh, you want to do your, okay, we want to, the people from Yahara Material to do the presentation now? Yeah, after that, yeah, makes sense.
I'm Robin Loger with Yahara Materials. Part of our team here is Mike Scarman with KL Engineering. He is our infrastructure engineer. DJ Dolphin, he handles our technical blasting and drilling operations. John Kemen, he is our land coordinator. And Dustin O'Connell, he's our civil engineer. Sorry, you can't see the sun here. You have to excuse me. Can't see the. Is that on?
Yes, are you ready?
Yeah, I couldn't see the sun there
Oh, okay.
into the screen. Go to the next slide there, Dustin. This is the location of our site, Fitchburg Hills Development. It's next to the O'Brien Solar Farms, right on the south side of Lacey Road. It's located at the intersection of Commerce Drive and Lacey Road, directly south of the Hop House. It's the old Richardson farm. It consists of just under 100 acres. It's currently zoned for agricultural row crops. It's the predominant use, and we purchased it in 2021. Again, here's the 5 parcels that it includes. We're currently in the stages of, we have put our reclamation plan and stuff together for, we know the site is going to get developed off here in the near future. We're in, Fitchburg is in updating their comprehensive plan for the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood that includes this site. There is, when a development happens there, go to the next site there. Again, this is another slide of the site. We had to put a reclamation plan together of what we're going to do for the interim. And this allows us, what that allows us to do is go in and start prepping the site and getting, because the rock is going to have to be dealt with irregardless of what's going to happen here. This gives us an opportunity to go in there and remove the rock so for the future development, so we can move that along. This is an overview of our, what we would be, the steps of our process of what we'd be processing rock. Obviously, number one, we've done our investigations. We've got our plans drew up. Right now, we're in the process of, getting our conditional use permit. Once that happens, our operation will be clearing and grubbing it, putting our erosion control, stripping it, drilling and blasting to prepare the rock. We'll process the rock, we'll crush it and screen it. And then when we're done, we'll close it out, we'll clean up the site, recycle it, the site, and reclaim it and put it back to agricultural vegetation. Here is our operational plan. As you can see, it encompasses the entire site. We've got a security fence all the way around the site, posted with all the necessary posting that is required not only by the city and also by MSHA. We will have 50-foot offsets, and then we will start our extraction on the south and west sides. The north and east sides, we will have a 100-foot setback, and we will put visual screening berms on both the north and east sides.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
On one of your last slides there, condition number 17 says no washing of materials, recycling materials, asphalt batching, concrete production, and concrete mixing shall be performed on site. Are you guys saying that you have an intention to do that on this site?
No.
Okay.
We have no intentions of washing or batching
Okay.
or producing asphalt, anything like that. We're just producing rock.
Sure.
it.
Just wanted to make sure we weren't in conflict there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Dustin. Here's our reclamation plan. Obviously, the yellow is will be the edge of our extraction area, or actually what we're going to disturb, because on the the east and north sides we will not be extracting anything. The blue line, that is basically going to be the bottom of the floor. So that's the area that approximately would have the rock on it, and that's going to be to elevation 1040. And the red lines coming up, that's our grade coming up to the top of our slope. Here is a cross-section of looking from east to west. Left side is south, right side is north. And you can see on the left side, we're going to be taking the hill down. Site will be graded off to the north. When we're done putting it back in, the material grading the site after we've removed the rock, you'll have approximately a 2% slope running from the southeast to the northwest. Here is what our berms are going to look like. Fence, security fence, ditch check, seeded matted berm. This is a slide of what the typical landscape screening berm will look like. The only difference is it's going to have some trees on it. And that will be on the north and the east side, approximately half the distance on the east side. Here's a cross-section of our high wall, the safety fence, the berm. Going forward, the only thing we have left to do is, if we're get your approval tonight, what we will do is submit our completed reclamation plan to Dane County, and for their approval, they have 30 to 90 days to approve that. And then in the meantime, what we will do is, for the stormwater management, we have to apply for a permit from the Department of Natural Resources. It's a stormwater management permit, and that plan will show where all the water's going to be caught in all the ponds, and so that it will be determined that it'll be a internally drained site. And they will monitor that, and they will issue us that permit, and that will be, again, you guys will get a copy of that permit. This is a scenario of the haul routes when we first looked at this. The green going to the east and up Fitchburg Road, that is on there for visual purposes only. We've never intended to go that route. The two routes that we looked at were going north on Commerce and east on Lacey. In discussion tonight with the Rural and Ag Affairs Committee, it was brought up that they would like to possibly see a four-corner stop there, four-way stop, and that way we would continue to go north on Commerce Drive all the way to PD, and we're okay with that. That was an option that was brought up tonight. This is just some of the criteria that was used when the traffic routes were looked at and decided upon. That's our presentation there, and if you have any questions for us, or Deanna, if you want to.
So, yeah, so now we are going to hear the staff memo.
Okay. Be patient with me a minute. So as was noted, this is a conditional use request for a non-metallic mine. The first point that I would want to bring out from the department memo is that this future land use designation currently is agriculture and open space. While staff has not identified any potential conflict with that quarry designation and agricultural land use. Actually, our ordinance allows a conditional use for a quarry in agricultural zoning, and also state law allows that. But planning staff have initiated the South Stoner Neighborhood Plan, and that's what I'm showing up here. The area in that kind of orangey color, might look a little yellow to some of you, that is the South Stoner Neighborhood Plan that staff has initiated the process to begin. We have selected a consultant, and we will be going into contract in the next month or month and a half, we hope, and then start within 2 or 3 months the neighborhood planning process. So while the future land use currently on this site is agriculture and open space, at the completion of the South Stoner Neighborhood Plan, this will have new land uses. And this will be the first step for urban development throughout this orange area. So just to kind of orientate you, Fitchburg Road is here, Lacey is up here, and the parcels for the proposed quarry is these parcels, if you can kind of follow my cursor, are these parcels. So these parcels, where this current application for conditional use is slated for urban development. At this point, we cannot tell you what types of urban development it will be. We can't say if it's going to be houses or industry or commercial. That will come out of the process of the neighborhood planning process that we are embarking on. And I would expect it would take at least a year till we have that neighborhood plan ready for Plan Commission review and council review. So that's kind of the first step that I wanted to bring out for everyone. As you can see also, there are several quarries in the vicinity, as already mentioned. There's a quarry directly to the west, and then there's 2 quarries to the north of Lacey. The applicant has conducted a neighborhood meeting and some in-person meetings. I have been told that in general, the response was positive from those neighborhood meetings. The memo continues with an overview of some of the key points that are actually specified in the conditions. So the first part here is talking about operations and what those steps are. And to just be clear, as Zach quite rightly pointed out, the asphalt plants, batching, concrete mixing, washing of stone is not going to be permitted on this site. This site is only under the proposed conditional use will be to take the stone out and use it elsewhere. The hours of operation that we have proposed is Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. with no Sundays and holidays. We have added in the potential for 10 Saturdays throughout the year, so not every Saturday. That would be 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then blasting would be allowed at 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I talked a little bit about equipment and the number of employees. Site work, drilling, crushing, stockpiling of materials would be 2 to 5 employees, plus loading and hauling with 2 employees. The applicant has detailed the berms and that there would be landscaping on those berms. The conditions require the applicant to provide a landscape plan for the zoning administrator's approval. Site access would come solely off the intersection with the future Commerce Park Drive. That will be the sole access to the site. And then the traffic and haul roads, there was some discussion in Ag and Rural, but as written, the primary access road would be on Commerce Park with a secondary access that would be east to Seminole and then up to McKee. The key point on the project duration, as written, the proposed conditional use would expire on December 31st, 2028. At that time, as written, we would expect to have the reclamation plan done and all of the quarrying completed. That said, if there was any sorts of issues or problems, at that point, the Plan Commission could consider an extension of the conditional use or really revisit the conditional use. The idea here is that, as you noted, the current reclamation plan that's before you is to take the site back to pasture or agriculture. That is a requirement of state law at this particular point because the applicant is required to bring the site back to the current land use, the current and the future land use, which is still agriculture. What the planning department expects is that after the Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan is complete, that we would be able to start working with the applicant to develop a new reclamation plan that would reflect the new urban development needs. And we would start doing engineering on roads and stormwater management and utilities and building sites, and create a new reclamation plan that will reflect that urban development. So, let's see, I think I covered that, and the new reclamation plan. The next part of my memo just gave the Plan Commission some of the sections of code. Staff has not identified any conflicts with state law or our current ordinances, and staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit with a total of 50 conditions.
Were you all saying you wanted to add a 51st condition in there based on the Ag and Rural meeting? Or,
Well, we're going to hold off on that.
okay, fair enough.
So,
Okay. So,
Madam Mike,
okay.
my talk is complete.
Yeah, okay, thank you. We are open to question for the commissioner, so, okay.
Extension requested on the CUP, the reclamation then would be postponed until, as per the next, because the deadline of the extension of the CUP, correct?
Yeah, Plan Commission is going to have to consider that. If there is a request for extension, Plan Commission would have to consider the length of that extension and then what that reclamation future land use would be. I can't really make a determination at that point.
And there'll be a 50-foot wall along the southwestern edge.
As proposed in this current reclamation plan, I have, and I'll let Robin jump in here too, I have every thought that that is not going to be the final reclamation plan.
I'm good.
I'll just say, I don't think that is an appropriate approach for future urban development, and there's many ways that we can address those high walls. So,
Okay.
I don't know, Robin, if you want to add.
Can you come to the microphone?
We do have some ideas and plans of what we can do with that, but until we get the updated South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan back, it would be, premature, but that's not our intent to leave it like that.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So Robin, just to follow up, regardless of what that plan is going to say, to me, it seems like it'd make more sense to resolve that issue now. Because, I mean, you've got a neighbor, they've got a wall too. I don't understand.
Which neighbor?
Payne and Dolan.
We're very confident that that issue is going to be resolved, but that's, at the end of the day, that's part of our conditions in our conditional use permit, is that those things are going to have to be dealt with. I think that's one of the conditions in there, is that there's going to be an agreement with Payne and Dolan to get rid of that. And the south wall, we've got some ideas right now what we're going to do with that, but those will become more clear after we get our neighborhood plan together of where the streets and everything are going to lay.
So there's going to be a south wall, which I understand. The west wall is the one that I don't see why you couldn't just sort that out with Payne and Dolan now and get an agreement in place so that we know what that's going to look like. Because to me, there shouldn't be a wall there at all. You're both going to end up at the same level, correct?
That's correct, and I do believe that's where it's going to go, but we don't have that right now, we don't have that agreement, and we have to put our reclamation plan together as if that's what's going to be there. We can always amend that, and we know we're probably going to, but in order to get the reclamation plan done, this is what we had to put in it. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess I would rather see the agreement in place now so that we know that this is going to be resolved and that we don't have to deal with that down the road, because either way, it just seems like it should end up at the same height.
It is our full intent to eliminate that wall.
Okay.
Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm curious if you can give insight to what that looks like in terms of getting rid of the wall. Like, I know you haven't decided exactly what you would do, but what are potential options for terracing, or like what would that potentially look like?
Between us and Payne and Dolan?
No, with the 60-foot wall, like how you manage a 60-foot wall on the property.
There's some terracing and different things we can do there. What's going to more define that is when we get our updated South Stoner Prairie neighborhood, and when we can engineer the drawings where the streets and everything are going to run. Then we can say, we can put details in of what those will be and look like.
Any other question? Steve?
Ed, could you give us an update on what transpired at your previous meeting?
I think the big concern at Ag and Rural was traffic and how it affected the neighborhoods and the capacity for some of the roads around there to handle this kind of truck traffic. There's already a fair amount on there. We don't want there to be more. One thought was that if there were a four-way stop where Commerce comes into Lacey Road, right now it's just, it tees into there, but they're going to be coming south directly, south of where Commerce comes in from the north. So if you had a four-way stop there, that would allow them, even during the rush hour, to get their trucks across to Commerce Park Drive and go up Commerce Park Drive to get to PD. So from PD, probably most of the traffic is going to go to the west out to 18 and 151. Some of it, if they got a project in Oregon or something, some of it's going to go to the east and then down Fish Hatchery Road. Trying to keep that traffic on the county highways and not having it go across Lacey Road all the way to Fish Hatchery, or Lacey Road up to Seminole Highway and north on Seminole. So that could be avoided if they can always get through Commerce Park Drive. That's really more of a public works issue, but we thought that would be very preferable. What we really don't want is traffic going south on Seminole Highway from Lacey. So we want to make sure that we can avoid that as well.
So I have another question. Okay.
Other question is for staff. Could you speak to the fact that we already have this plan for doing the neighborhood plan and how this would either interfere with that or play well with it? Because this feels very much like chicken and egg, that if we would have had the plan already underway, that we wouldn't even entertain this, but I don't know if that's true, and I would like for you to kind of clear up what does that look like, and if we didn't have that plan, should that influence the way we vote?
I think it's a really good question. Staff's been turning this around for a little while. We see this now as kind of a wonderful opportunity, in the sense we have an opportunity to work with Yahara Materials through this neighborhood planning process, and work with them, and their reclamation plan will be able to reflect and meet the needs of that neighborhood planning process. So staff's real comfortable with moving forward in this kind of direction. And we met with our consultants last Friday, and they're excited. So I think this will work.
I have a question for KLA engineer. Can you? So my question is, we are investing we are doing the Lazy Road reconstruction road this year, and how this is going to interfere with that construction. And also, if you consider in the design of the road, the weight, the extra weight that this truck are going to stress on those in that road. So I am concerned because we are investing $8 million in that road, and then we are adding all this truck. So have you considered that in your design of the road?
So just making sure you can hear me, that's
Yeah.
on. So yes, so I guess the first question was about kind of the ingress and egress during the construction projects. So this summer, Lacey Road will be closed through traffic while it's under construction. And I guess the understanding was, Hammersley and Yahara, if they're granted the permit to get started, would have access that is, not necessarily, same as public access, but they would have the ability to get through barricades and get across to have access to their properties. So basically, anybody along Lacey Road will have the opportunity to get in and out during construction, not really contending with public traffic. So I think that should be something that can be managed during the construction, just between the different property owners and the contractor out there. With regard to the weight and the impact of trucks on the road that's going to be built, that is something we did check into. And ultimately, so if you look at it where the pavement was designed at a specific thickness with layers of gravel and stone underneath to bear the load of what was anticipated, we did factor in future traffic growth for, say, 25 years. The MPO helps us forecast those numbers, including additional truck growth. And there's factors of safety built into that. So kind of when we looked at that, that was adequate. There's a pretty healthy layer of pavement, just about 2 feet of pavement structure is going to be put in out there. So designed for the truck traffic that's out there currently, plus additional traffic growth, not just this quarry, but the long-term growth of that property and others. There's 5,000 to 6,000 additional vehicles that are forecasted to be on Lacey Road in the future. That's probably a greater impact to the overall pavement load than kind of the short-term duration of the quarry.
Any other question?
Yeah, I have one, Julia, and maybe less of a
Oh,
question.
Zach? Oh, sorry, Zach.
No, that's all good. For the traffic piece of it, I just want to say, I had a lot of concerns with putting a four-way stop there. That's a really busy street, and part of the reason of putting a roundabout in at Seminole is to alleviate some of those backed up traffic on that route. So now we're just basically moving that up to the hill. I mean, it's going to get backed up pretty heavily there. I mean, that's a busy road, and putting in a four-way stop it's a safety thing, I guess, or whatever, but I don't know. That seems like, kind of silly, but I don't know what else to say. It just seems kind of, hopefully it's not permanent, because it's just creating another problem with traffic on that road that is trying to be alleviated by adding in a roundabout.
Is that something I can address?
Yes.
Yep. So ultimately, the intersection at Commerce Park was designed, quite frankly, to be signalized in the future as development kind of fills out over the next, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, however long that takes. I guess the concept of the four-way stop was brought up at the prior meeting. That wasn't necessarily something that our study or the project had anticipated or recommended. If city staff deemed that appropriate, it's the footprint of what's going to be built could accommodate that type of traffic control. In the future, I think it's a pretty strong expectation there would be a traffic light up there to serve, a full developed Richardson property would all come out at that location, in addition to any traffic use in Commerce Park. So, it is expected to require, some traffic control in the future. For the near term, we did look at, just traffic flow, safety, and efficiency. Don't really see any problems. I think the understanding with city staff was during more of the quiet hours of the day, the trucks would be comfortable to just go straight across, use Commerce Park. That's the most direct route. When it is busier on Lacey Road, that would be when it's safer and probably more appropriate for the trucks to take a right. That's just an easier, kind of less conflict type of movement to make, and then drive east to the roundabout and Seminole, and then head north from there.
Okay, no, that's helpful. I appreciate it. Yeah, it just seems like we're getting rid of a stop sign, four-way stop, just to add another one. So,
If I might, so Zach, maybe you see the problem. If you don't have the four-way stop there and the trucks don't continue up Commerce, they're going to go to Seminole, which means you're going to have the trucks going through your roundabout to then go north on Seminole. So if that's what you want, I would think I guess that was a point at Ag and Rural. We'd like to avoid having the trucks use that route.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other question? Who has Gabriela?
In terms of if we were going to require the four-way stop, what does that look like? Do we have to add a condition? Do we have to consult with Public Works, or what?
We really couldn't put on an additional condition because our engineers are going to have to take a look of what's feasible. I'm not comfortable as a planner to make that call.
But so Public Works, we could bring it to them and they can consider it.
I mean, you could add another condition that that city staff, city engineer would take another look at the traffic situation and consider a new four-way stop or some other traffic control measures, is how I would approach it.
And I guess as a follow-up to that, at what point would we expect the truck hauling to be that the level that you're talking about in the permit?
As far as to generate, say, the warrant criteria to put in the four-way stop?
Yeah.
It quite frankly is far short of that. We did do some forecasting of future development, just kind of assuming if it's mostly residential, some commercial, potentially up along Lacey Road. That was shown to generate about 3,500 vehicles a day. At that level, you would look at a traffic signal. What the quarry is showing, kind of with 150,000 tons per year production, was about 70 trucks per day, which is on an hourly basis, less than 10 in an hour. It's not to consider it insignificant, but it's far short of the levels that I guess traffic engineers would say meet the need for always stops. You would need, and just kind of high level estimating, but you'd need probably 10 to 15 times more volume regularly using that intersection, either from Commerce Park or the driveway or both, than the quarry's going to generate to really generate the need to put stop signs up for Lacey Road.
And what point were the trucks, so like you have to prepare the site and build the berms, and like, would potentially you start hauling at the end of this calendar year? Would it be next year?
The timeline for the trucks to actually be on Lacey Road?
Probably late this fall.
Late this fall, okay. And that's going to be, okay. The construction's happening this summer, so. I have a few more questions, but it's different topics.
Any other question? No?
I just have a couple things about, I was looking at the geological report. I just have a few questions about groundwater and stormwater. So the St. Peter sandstone is underneath. You're looking at the dolomite layer. That's what you're trying to mine. In terms of, like, you say that you consider the layers are pretty flat in the area, so you have a sense of how deep you get to go. But at the 1,040 layer, looking at your cross-section, it looks like the sandstone actually starts at 1,060. Obviously the water table is lower. The water table is about 50 feet lower, but the actual sandstone layer starts about 20 feet below your minimum. And I just, in terms of protecting the groundwater, is that in the report it says, it's 90 feet of depth before you hit the groundwater, but in reality it's 20 feet of depth before you hit the sandstone, and that's the risk of, in my mind, that's the risk of groundwater contamination. So I'm just curious about how you manage that. Yeah, or potential groundwater contamination.
Can you come to the microphone?
Dustin, you want to take care of that?
Yeah, sure. All right, so I definitely understand the concern there. The big thing to emphasize, and we've already touched on it a little bit, is there will be no washing going on at the site, and there will be no high-capacity wells. Because I guess when you mentioned groundwater contamination, the types of activities that would influence the groundwater table would be drawing from the groundwater table with a high-capacity well, or washing materials on site, and then depositing those materials in a pond that would have water infiltrate once you have processed water. So again, just to reassure everyone, those activities aren't taking place, and those are the activities that would influence the groundwater table.
So the activities are purely mechanical in nature. There's no, like, you're crushing the rock, you're putting it on the trucks. Like, are there chemicals? There has to be.
No, yeah, there's no water incorporated at all, other than, the storm water that would be falling on the material that will remain on site.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no process-generated wastewaters associated with these activities for this proposed project.
Okay. And then the other question I had was about dust and just sediment in general. I know it mentioned in the report, in the materials, it mentioned that you do some street cleaning if there's any sediment at the end of the day.
You want to touch on that, Robin?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So for erosion control, I saw on page 8 of your report sorry, I'm looking at the packet. It said something to the effect of any sediment reaching the street will be cleaned up daily by street cleaning.
Yes.
Just so it doesn't make it into the stormwater.
Correct.
I'm just curious how that street cleaning works. Is there a
broom? We have a broom and we clean
just a
it
broom?
up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a power broom, we sweep it up, different types, similar to what you use to clean your streets. It's a different type. It's picked up. It's, if there is something tracked out, we sweep it up, we pick it up, we bring it back into the site where it can't erode into your stormwater.
Great.
The city stormwater facilities.
You typically do that daily? Is that?
Pardon me?
Daily?
Yes, there's a broom on site.
Great.
That is on site. Yes, it's monitored daily.
Great. And then in terms of dust, I know that you have to have a plan for dust.
Yeah.
This type of process, like, how do you control that dust? Can we have a solar farm across, just down the way?
Yeah, what we do is we will hook up to a hydrant. We'll buy the water from the city. There's a hydrant right on the job, on the site, and we'll run that into hoses on our site, and then we'll incorporate that into our crushing if need be, with spray bars, and then we will also, for the traffic, we will have a water truck on site to water the site to keep the dust down.
But it's not significant enough. It's significant enough water to reduce the dust, but it's not significant enough that you're creating runoff that could end up in the water table?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it's just a moderate amount of water to keep the dust down?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's all I had on that.
I have a question about blasting. How many times are you planning to do that?
I'm sorry?
Blasting, how many times are you planning to do that?
How many times are we blasting?
Yeah.
Typically, we will probably do 6 to 8 a year.
Mm-hmm.
But once we start, it might be a little bit more frequent for that first 6 months to a year because you're going into the hill and you've got short holes and short shots. So it might be a little bit more till we get in. But once we get in, it would be 6 to 8 times a year.
Okay. Any other question? Oh, Ed.
I had a few things. Deanna, the setbacks on quarries are typically 100 feet, are they not? Because we've got some of these at 100 and some of these at 50, and I don't know why we have a difference there.
That's a very good question. And that originally staff did request 100. And Robin has brought to my attention that the standard is generally 50 or even down to 20. And so I'm proposing on the north side and the west side, the 100. And then with the understanding on the west side, I hope I said that right, the east side will be 100. On the west side, with the agreement with Payne and Dolan to bring down the wall. And then on the south side, I'm comfortable with the 50-foot setback, given we're going to have to address those high walls at some point. So maybe, Robin, you can talk a little bit more about that.
The setbacks?
Mm-hmm.
In our experience with we work all over the state, a majority, or all of them, I'll say that we have, and we have numerous, they're 20 and 50 feet are the setbacks. That's very standard. In fact, there's one in Dane County right now that's, I believe it's the town of Rutland, and that one is 20 feet. So 20 and 50 feet are very, very normal throughout the area. So that's why we went with what we went with. And part of that is the setback. If we weren't going to be taking the walls out and doing the work at the south property line, that would maybe influence that setback to be farther. But if we know those things are going to be eliminated to a certain extent, it doesn't make sense to put a bigger setback there and then we have to deal with it at a later date. I mean, right now we know what the plan is, pretty concrete, that the wall at the west is going to be eliminated and the wall on the south, we know where we're going with that. And we, like I say, we do have some ideas what we're going to do with it, but that will be refined as we get the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood refined, and then our engineering can refine where the streets and everything are going to go, and they will be addressed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that I really understand that with regard to the south, because you're going to need space there to do some terracing or stepping up or whatever it might be. If you only have a 50-foot setback, how is that enough room to do that?
Because what will probably happen if the plan dictates that, you know, nothing is ever going to happen to the south, we do have ideas what we're going to do to fill that area in. It won't be taking it back out. So we'll be adding to that, not taking it back.
Okay, because we don't know what's happening to the south.
Correct.
Okay. All right. The other question I had was with regard to the fencing that you're putting in. I'm sure that's in the packet somewhere. I didn't happen to find it. Do you know where that is in the packet? Can we see what you're putting in for fencing?
I couldn't tell you right offhand what sheet it's on, but it's going to be a 4-strand barbed wire fence, and it'll run completely around the site, and it'll be signed with no trespassing and all our MSHA signs.
So wouldn't something like this typically be woven wire rather than a 4-strand bar? I mean, I guess I'm not sure what the 4-strand barbed wire does.
Pardon me?
I'm not sure what the purpose of the 4-strand barbed wire is. I would think that woven wire would be more common.
We've done both of them.
Does it matter? What do you think, Deanna?
Woven wire's good.
All right. I had a few things on the conditions that I just wanted to kind of go through quickly. Condition number 21. This has to do with the haul routes. And the last sentence says no through truck traffic will travel west toward Fitzroy Road. I would like to add north-south on Seminole Highway.
North and south?
No, just south. I mean, if we have the 4-way stop, they won't need, but we can't control that.
Right.
They won't need to go north either.
To
then.
add, not traveling south on South Seminole.
Yes, correct.
South on South Seminole.
Yes, yes.
I think we can certainly add that.
Okay, number 26. Engine braking there's no E in braking. There should be no E in braking.
Yeah, that was my fault. I apologize.
No problem. I went to Catholic school. There were none, so, you know. Getting down to number 50. This says that at the cessation of the permit or abandonment of the period for 1 year, conditional use permit will be deemed to have been terminated, and any future use shall be, I think you mean in conformity, with the city's zoning ordinance, and I would add or neighborhood plan, because we may not have rezoned at that point, but we'll have a neighborhood plan.
Very good.
And then I would just propose, and I don't know, adding this as a condition is the correct thing to do, but add a number 51 that that Public Works, we would ask Public Works to look at the 4-way stop. and weigh in on that, and just make sure that they understand that the idea is to keep the truck traffic from having to go east on Lacey and north on Seminole. And that if they decide against that, well, they'll have the neighbors to deal with it.
You know, you've talked about that, though. If you go up Commercial Drive, is that really where we want these big trucks traveling? Like, down where it's happening, that sounds like a great idea, but as you get up there, that becomes a winding road around all,
I know.
like, small commercial stuff.
That's what the intent is, but you got to have the traffic somewhere.
Right.
So
Why not north of Seminole?
you've got a lot of housing up along Seminole Highway. I would think you would want to run the truck traffic through a commercial area as opposed to housing. And that was the discussion. Now, you know, eventually that comes down to what Public Works decides they want to do.
Any other question, Gabriela?
Yeah, curious about the timeline. So I was looking at I was looking at the supplemental materials in the packet, and it was page 54. It was Yahara Materials' response to condition 5. And you mentioned you were asking about potentially adding an automatic renewal clause, which my understanding is we don't have an automatic renewal clause for the permit. But you were asking, so you said, similar to what we discussed last week, this is a quote from our concern is that the combined processes of neighborhood planning, site engineering would run into extenuating circumstances that would lead the CUP to expiration and possible lapse in permitting prior to final urban development plan approval by the city. So for me, this means to me that you would prefer to be able to do the quarry up until the planning, we're ready to move into the urban development. Like, would you prefer, like, I'm curious about the likelihood of you trying to extend the permit. Is 5 years, the likelihood of wanting to extend the permit after 5 years?
No, what that comment is in there for is we have a reclamation plan that is required by the state. And when we can't modify that to go to the site development plan. So at the end of that 5 years, let's say that this takes 6 years for all the permitting and the plans to come together. So we don't want to have a time where we don't have a permit to operate that under. So that's what we asked. So that's what that's for.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I believe so. Yeah. So I guess the other in terms of quarry operations, like, is 5 years, like, there's only so much stone that you can
Correct.
mine and take away.
Yeah.
Is that 5 year period, you anticipate that's the amount of time you would need to truck all that stone away?
We feel that's going to be adequate because our intent is and our hope is by the time that 5 years is up, we are going to know where the subdivision is going to go, and part of the rock that we have there, that's why this is it's a unique situation.
Yeah.
We can produce it for all the streets, the infrastructure, everything that's going to go in there, and then all the basements, if it's residential, are going to have a number of loads of stone for each one of those. So that's what our intent is.
And so you are looking forward to that future urban development. You own this land, and
Yes,
that's
yes.
like ultimately you are wanting that urban
Yes.
development in the long term.
Yes.
You'll be participating in the Sonora Prairie neighborhood plan to.
Correct.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Any other question?
You're kind of getting towards, and I've been sitting here going, this is a really dumb question, but there are no dumb questions, right? So to staff, if we did not approve this, and we know that we're going through the neighborhood planning process, what would be different about that planning process, or when we finally get to that point of, okay, we want to develop this land? If we don't go through and we don't approve the CUP, what would that difference look like?
I think what the major difference would be that we would not be working up front as closely with the future urban development, the future urban developer. I think that we would probably be collecting really similar data and information. The neighborhood planning process probably wouldn't look significantly different. I do think that the land uses might be shifting because we have a quarry. It might make sense to have more industrial commercial than we might have thought about before. But I don't think the neighborhood planning process in itself is going to be very, very different. Staff does think that it's going to be kind of exciting to work through the process of taking a quarry into urban development. I think there's a lot of synergies that we can work there together. I don't know, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other question? You have a comment? Okay.
I've lived by the Winger Quarry since I was young, thin, and quick, and I've got 4 bicycles. And I've never had a problem with that. And I just wanted to make that known that I don't anticipate much of a problem. We haven't had any. I've been there since early 80s, and I've been riding my bike back and forth by there, down Nesbitt, near there. And I'm not far from KL Engineering, so I just want, from my perspective, there has not been a problem for me.
Any other comment? I don't know, Zach, do you have any comment? No? Maybe sleeping. No? Okay, so any other?
Yeah, I think we maybe should, if you're interested, to make a motion on those 3 items, those 3 changes. And then if we get a second.
Okay.
Yes, do you want me to go over them again, or do you have notes on them?
I have notes on them.
Okay.
So would you like me to repeat those?
Yes, just so everyone knows what we're voting on.
Okay,
Before
so
you'd word it.
I think we have a motion on the table to approve, and then there's 3 different changes that have been discussed. In number 21, the last sentence, no through traffic will travel west towards Fitzroy Road. Staff will add, also no through truck traffic will travel east and then travel south on South Seminole. I have an error in number 26 in my spelling.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Number 50, we would just make a correction on the wording here shall be in conformity with the city's zoning ordinance and the South Stoner Neighborhood Plan when approved. So we'll add in there the South Stoner Neighborhood Plan. And then we have discussed adding number 51, which would be requesting Public Works to review and consider and to take a look at a 4-way stop at this intersection with the proposed Quarry Drive and Commerce Park Drive, and consider whether that would be appropriate. With the intention that Plan Commission and Ag and Rural would like to see a reduction of traffic on Seminole.
I move approval of those amendments to the conditions that were originally noted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Nays? The motion carries. Thank you.
That was the motion, to amend the motion.
Oh, to amend the motion, okay. One more. I need to do another one. So now I need
An overall motion
a
on
motion
the
to approve the conditional use CU-2499-23.
We have that.
We have
We
it.
just need to vote on it.
We opened with that.
Main motion.
Oh, what motion?
See, that's why and we do things different than at council.
Oh,
We always
okay.
wait for our motions until we talked about stuff because we don't know what we want to move.
Oh, okay, so now, so you open the discussion, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we'll just take a vote.
now we take a vote, okay.
Yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Nays? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we have another public hearing for item 5B in the agenda, conditional use CU-2505-23. It's a request by Ellie Wu, agent from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Facility Planning and Management, and McKee Place LLC to obtain a light industrial use conditional use to allow the operation of an automotive test lab on property associated with 6064 McKee Road. So I am opening the public hearing. So first, okay, so starting with the first one. So it's Andrea Bill. She only is in support of this agenda item, and she wished to register. Pete Nemeth, oh, okay, sorry for, he wished to register only in support. Brent Lloyd wished to register only and in support. And he's also here to answer any question if needed. So, and then Ellie Wood wished to speak in support. So, Ellie?
So my name is Ellie Wu. I'm, excuse me, I'm with UW-Madison Facilities Planning and Management. The folks that you already went through are all registered and willing to speak if you have any questions. Andy and Pete are with the program, and Brent is from Facilities Planning and Management with me. So we intend to, or are proposing to lease about 7,700 square feet at 6064 McKee Road for office, laboratory, and warehouse space. 90% of what we plan to do is office space. So what we're really here to talk about for the conditional use permit application is the 10%, which is what makes the space a really unique space. It's got some overhead doors, which will allow our engineering programs to bring some autonomous vehicles into the space. So the programs are the Traffic Operations Safety Laboratory, known as the TOPS Lab, and they do primarily computational stuff. And then what we really are talking about is the CATS Lab, which is Connected and Autonomous Transportation Systems, and those vehicles. So vehicles are Lincoln Mercury vehicles that are four-door sedans. They are modified with the autonomous features. However, they have all the safety features and everything that the normal cars do. There's nothing that's taken away. It's just stuff that is added to them. And this lab space would give us the unique opportunity to be able for those researchers to work on those vehicles and have that space to potentially test in the parking lot with the landlord's permission. We understand that we can't take those vehicles out on the roads. State law does not allow us to take those vehicles out on the roads in an autonomous fashion. So yes, you will see them out on the road, but they will be driven by a human, just like every other car out there. I don't really know. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, Diana, any questions?
Well, is there anybody else who wants to speak on the public hearing?
So I can close the public hearing?
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay, so I am closing the public hearing, and now we're going to staff report.
Thank you very much. So the current zoning on this parcel is business highway, and because the most closest classification of this use is light industrial, it requires a conditional use. So the conditional use application is to have a more light industrial use in business highway. Staff does not see any issues with consistency with the comprehensive plan. The property is located on Lot 3 of CSM 5950. And Ellie talked about the indoor lab and the office space. The proposed facility appears to be adequate for the type and design of the proposed use. While the applicants have stated they're in the application to have 25 employees, they communicated that an average of 6 to 10 employees are expected on this site during normal business hours. There will not be dedicated parking for the test vehicles themselves, as they will primarily remain in the lab. There will be no customer visits to the site, and staff does not identify any significant parking concerns with this proposed use. Due to late night evening work that is possible, additional lighting isn't anticipated to be needed, but it might be considered at some point. We talked about state law, and I will just leave it at that. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use request with the following 7 conditions.
Okay. I have a question. So what are the other businesses beside this site? What type of businesses are?
Can you help me with that? I think on the site there's a dog kennel.
Oh, okay.
There.
Okay.
And then I think there's just some kind of flex office.
Okay.
Staff.
Yeah, Jeff. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any question?
I have a question.
Okay, Zach, go ahead.
Yep. So I'm just curious about this, autonomous operation out in this parking lot. I'm looking at the parking lot there, and the dog kennels are immediately adjacent to it. There is another business there. It's a CrossFit business that's open until 8 p.m. So people will be coming and going through 8 p.m., potentially a little bit thereafter. So I'm just kind of curious when you're planning on doing this and what type of, limitations there are, if there's going to be a vehicle that would potentially drive into the back of this dog kennel.
Hi.
Great question. My name is Andy Bell. I'm the Associate Director of the Traffic Operations and Safety Laboratory, and so just want to follow up on that. So what will we be testing outside of the office space would be more as how does all the technology working out there? So it's not like we would just let the vehicle go free and fingers crossed it doesn't hit anything. We'd be making sure that as we came out there and we would be putting up maybe like a cone and seeing does the sensors detect that cone, at what distance away, moving the cone around, things of that sort through that process.
And would that just be in the parking lot immediately out front, or are you going to be using more of the extended parking lot closer to the entrance and exit?
That's a great question. I don't think we've fully determined that yet, but if there is concerns one way or the other, we can definitely make sure that we capture that.
Any other questions, Zach? Follow up? No? We are ready?
Yeah, I'll move approval of conditional use 2505-23 with the 7 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
You got it.
Okay. Any discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Fitchburg.
The next 2 items, the next 2 items, the applicant has requested to postpone until May.
C and D.
D, yes, ma'am.
So we are postponing. Okay.
Yes, please.
So do we need to do a motion to postpone?
Yes, we should do a motion to
Okay.
postpone each one of them.
I'll make a motion to postpone 5C preliminary plat request PP 250023.
I'll second.
Are we postponing to a certain date or indefinitely?
May.
To the May Plan Commission meeting, 16? 17.
To the May
Thank you.
17 Plan Commission meeting. Oh, May 16th Plan Commission meeting.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one.
I'll move to postpone item 5D, public hearing and rezone request RZ 250123 to the May 16 Plan Commission meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Number E.
We might take these, we'll have to vote separately on E and F, but I think we'll take them together.
Okay.
As a discussion item. And then Mr. Van Day is here.
Okay, so we
We don't
open?
need a public hearing for
No
this.
public, okay. So, so we can call him now.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can bring up Dan.
So Dan Day, he's here to answer question. Do you want to speak? No? You're fine? Okay.
Have me do this one.
Okay, so can anyone move the motion?
I can give the staff report.
Oh, you're gonna do the stuff, sorry.
Yeah.
I am
Why
good
don't
to
I
use
go
to the
ahead
staff.
and just do the staff report.
It's fine. I'm gonna get used to. We don't do this in other commissions. Okay, so we are in 5E.
Yep. I'm going to do the staff report on 5E and 5F together.
Okay.
But we will have to take a vote on them individually.
Yeah, okay.
So, just going to go grab my screen.
This one is 5.
That might be helpful. Okay, so this is 3 existing lots in the Highfield Reserve subdivision, which was approved last year. It's under construction right now. And there's 3 lots that are right here off of GG Way. And what the applicant is proposing to do is re-subdivide via CSM to take those 3 lots into 4 lots. This does not have any change on the zoning. The new lots will still be in compliance with the Plan Development District originally approved by Plan Commission and Council. Honestly, they just realized that within their current Plan Development District, they could do 4 lots instead of 3. And so staff is recommending approval of the certified survey map with 7 conditions, and actually we're recommending approval of the minor comp plan amendment or modification request without any conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any question? So can we move the motion?
I'll move approval of certified survey map CS 250323, certified survey map request.
7.
Oh, is that it?
No, 7 conditions.
Oh, with the 7 conditions laid out by staff.
Just try and help you.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, all those in favor of approving the certified survey map SS-2503-23, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So, we need to do 5F. We need another motion.
Yep,
For the
we'll
minor.
need to do the minor.
Minor PPD. You can do it. I can do it.
I'll move approval of minor PDD modification request, Highfield Reserve lots 18 through 20.
I'll second.
Any questions? So all those in favor of approving the minor PDD modification request, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion carries. So thank you very much.
Okay.
So next we move to agenda item 5G. So this is an ADR for the Fitchburg Senior Center patio. Do we have anyone to?
Would you like to come up,
Would
Jill?
you like to talk, Jill?
You don't have to.
You have been there for a long time, so.
Since I sat through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, though. Yep, we have a patio in front of you. We've been working with Paul Woodard, so don't ask me any engineering questions, but I can tell you it's going to be a beautiful space outside the senior center with seating for almost 20. And we're looking at having lights, and we have done the fundraising all on our own. No city funds are being used for this except for staff time. So we're at about $60,000. We did have a schematic design by Parkitecture coming back with some cost estimates, and we're a little bit short. So we need another maybe 13, 14,000. So we reopened our fundraising campaign, but we will be fine. We have some backup money. So just looking for approval today. We did get architectural approval from the Fitchburg Center. So we'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Jill, could you kind of go through the materials that you're using?
Not necessarily, Ed, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot of concrete. There's going to be a steel shade structure. There's going to be a retaining wall with limestone. There is going to be some patio bricks, red patio bricks, but otherwise that will be lining the entrance. As you can see when you come in, all the small squares at the entrance there, yeah. Otherwise, it's all poured concrete with the colors just being sort of on the border of some brick. That's the best I can give you.
Thanks. We're just supposed to make sure that you're using good quality materials.
Of
That's what it
course
said in
we
the
are.
staff report, so.
Nothing but the best. If it passed through the Fitchburg Center,
Unless you don't raise all the money, then it's all going to be plastic.
no, they wouldn't let me. I was just going to pour a slab, and I got, it was a quick halt because it had to be a little bit nicer than that. It's going to be beautiful. So we've got some beautiful renderings down at the Senior Center if you want to come and see them. So.
Thank you. Okay, so.
Okay.
Diana, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just briefly say the current zoning is BG. Staff does not see any issues with the zoning or in it. It's consistent with the future land use and the comprehensive plan. The applicant has provided you some pictures of the different pieces and parts. Staff also notes B-cycle docks will be included nearby at this site, and that'll be coordinated in the future. And staff recommends approval of this ADR with 4 conditions.
Any question? No?
I'll move approval of ADR for Fitchburg Senior Center patio with the 4 conditions as noted.
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor of ADR for the Fitchburg Senior Center, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, gosh, yeah, pancake breakfast on Sunday.
So next we move to 5H, is another ADR for Tosho Bioscience.
And we do have John Beadle.
Okay, we have John Beadle. Oh, no, Bieno. Bino? Bino, okay. He wishes to speak, and is in support of this, and he's here also to answer questions. So do you want to speak?
Only if I have to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to staff report.
You bet. So just gonna grab my screen for you all, and maybe this will be somewhat visible. So the zoning is IS, specialized district. The future land use is industrial commercial. Staff has identified no issues with the zoning or the future land use plan. The property is located on Lot 11 of the Fitchburg Center, North Platte. The applicants are requesting approval of this ADR to allow a change in the parking lot design, including a small reduction in the number of parking spaces, and this will allow the applicants to bring in larger semi-trucks for access to the site and for their deliveries. So they're reworking the rear parking lot of this existing building so that they can get bigger trucks in here. So the primary impact of the change in the site design is a reduction in the parking stalls from 111 stalls to 86, equaling a total loss of 25 stalls. However, the tenant has a need of 45 stalls, and the TOSO maintains that they only have 20 employees. So the applicant believes that there still will be sufficient parking on site to meet the needs. The applicants have stated an intention to not disturb or alter the northernmost portion of the parking lot design, and maintaining all of the existing vegetation and trees as much as possible. Any of the landscaping that would need to be replaced or removed would have to be replaced. Removed would have to be replaced. There are some slight alterations to the facade materials, including a replacement of a garage door and a new dumpster enclosure. We have requested that the applicants repair or replace the garage door with similar kinds of materials, and that the dumpster enclosure be rebuilt to match the facade materials with a stone or brick kind of materials. So construction is proposed to start in the summer and end in the fall of this year. Staff recommends approval with a total of 10 conditions.
Any questions? No? Not you? Okay.
Question.
Okay.
TOSO's a tenant, right? So originally you had 111 planned, you've reduced it to 86 because this tenant is newer than the original plan, right?
Correct. The building was originally done as a single-tenant user, and over time, that tenant has actually sold the building to WHA that owns the property currently, and TOSO will be a tenant in the building, yes. And TOSO assembles these products, and they do not have a high volume. So the number of parking stalls, there's underground parking as well in this building. So the number of parking stalls that are needed is easily satisfied for the number of employees.
But if the tenant were to change, would that affect all this, or this should be fine going forward, no matter who?
Well, if the tenant were to change, we wouldn't need the dock probably either, and it would have to be reassessed.
Okay.
So if the tenant were to return back to an office-type user, for instance, they wouldn't need the dock, and then the stalls that are being removed could be reused. So we would be back to the 111 stalls.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question?
Going to move approval of ADR for TOSO Bioscience with the 10 conditions as noted.
Second.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So next we move to
Item I. And item I, we have 3 people on the line
Okay.
for this one. It is not a public hearing, but they might want to speak.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So next, how we're doing? You're gonna do the staff report first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the staff report. I know that Sherry is on the line and maybe a couple other people. And if you all would like to speak, just let us know, but I'll go ahead and do the staff report. This is an outlot in the second edition of Terra Vesa. So one of the outlots was originally planned that it would be subdivided and at one point for development. So it is smart code. The proposal is suitable for The proposal meets the requirements of Smart Code. There's no conflicts with the comprehensive plan. The property is located in Outlot 66 of Terra Vesta. The intention of the proposal is to build a 14-unit townhouse style development in the neighborhood. The property is located in T4 Transect of Smart Code. So this replat will allow similar to development as Outlot 53 and Outlot 54 that were approved by Plan Commission in September of 2025. So I'll just leave it there. While the properties are townhome style, only 3 lots are being created. The developer intends the townhomes to be rented. The proposal complies with the dimensional standards of T4 in Smart Code, and an approved Article 5 will be required before any building permits can be obtained. Staff recommends approval of the CSM with 9 conditions, and I neglected to bring that up.
9 conditions?
Yep.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
9 conditions.
Wrong page. Okay.
Wrong one.
This is Sherry. We do not intend to speak, but we're here for questions if anyone would have questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any question?
I do have a question.
Okay.
So why not plat this as 0 lot line units? If you did that now, and I understand the intent is for it to be a rental property, but if you did that now and owned all of the units, it would give you the option down the road, you or a future owner, to convert this to owner occupied without having to create a condominium association. And that could add some value to the property down the road because they may be worth quite a bit more as individual units at some point.
So the reason we are trying to approach it with 3 CSM, part of that is the infrastructure work for the existing utility work. And we are working with EOR, which has originally planned the utility work for this site. If I remember clearly, they have about 7 water lateral intake for the property. If we would have to 0 lot line it with the utility, we have to further split them into 14 of those, which depends on where the location is. Probably a lot of reconfiguring and structural work has to be done before we were able to 0 lot line them. So the idea behind this is at some point, these are having the potential to becoming owner occupied, but instead of 0 lot line, we probably will create a condo association and try to approach that in that route. That's our perspective on approaching to this.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I have a quick one as well.
Yes.
So I see they're all 1-car garages, but 2-bedroom units. Is the expectation that there's enough parking on the streets for second cars?
So how we have planned it is that it's a extra size 1-car garage with 2 bedroom. The intention is these will serve well as a workforce type of housing property, whether they're rental or owner occupying. And the way we designed it is that we will have long enough driveway to enable a tandem parking on their driveway. So technically, each unit would comply with 1 covered garage parking and 1 ground parking.
Okay, so parking in front of the garage is basically the second spot.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Any other
Not a
question? Oh, sorry. Any other question? No? Okay.
I'll move to approve CS 2502-23 with the 9 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
Any additional questions? Nope. Okay. So all those in favor of the certified survey map SS-2502-23, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay. The motion carries. Thank you. So next we move to 5J. So this is another ADR. So,
Yep, and we do have Ned on the line.
Ah, yeah, okay.
If you would like to speak, otherwise, Ned, I can just take this one.
I'm happy to answer questions, but I assumed I would just be here to observe.
okay, thank you.
Very good.
And good morning from Australia.
Oh.
Good morning. Good morning. So this is actually an ADR that was approved, back in November, I think. Did we get that in here? Back in November, Plan Commission approved this ADR as part of the PDD SIP for the Avalon. And what has happened is that when the building permits came through for our review, for the zoning permit, there was some changes in the architectural design and the materials that staff is not comfortable making a final call on. So this is coming back to Plan Commission for their approval. When there's some really minor changes to an ADR, the code gives us a little bit of latitude from the staff side to make some calls on that, but this one's a little bit more significant in changes, so it's coming back to Plan Commission. One of the things was a change in the materials used on the elevation. That will just draw your attention, and then there's some changes of the window placements and then the articulation of the canopy on the south side. Staff does recommend approval, but felt that it was important to come back to Plan Commission.
Okay, thank you. Any question? So we need to move. You can do it.
Sure.
Your last meeting.
I'll move approval of ADR for Avalon SIP amendment with the 3 conditions as noted.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? No? Okay, all those in favor of the ADR for Avalon, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. And next we move to 5.
I have that wrong. Should be K.
Okay, yes, it's a 5B.
Yeah, it's not Groundhog Day. Yeah, that's wrong in the memo. It's right here. On this one, the applicant has requested that we postpone this one also to the Plan Commission meeting on July 18. Thank you.
July 18?
Yes. So if we could have a motion to just postpone until July 18th, staff would appreciate.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor of postponing this, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Now we
We've
are-
gone through all of our,
Where we are now?
we are on L.
Oh, L. L is a resolution.
Yep. I'm going to take these 3. There shouldn't be anybody else online or
No.
available for this. This will be more on the staff side.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is releasing a portion of a public utility easement in Hatchery Hill. So this is the hotel that's kind of behind, where Pick and Save is, and then all of the little shopping strip there, and where, anyways, behind that there's a hotel. They built the hotel in the public utility easement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't really know how that all happened. The new owners purchased last year. The title report brought this to the attention of the new owners, that the corner of the hotel building encroaches like 3 or 4 feet into that public utility easement. So they have requested, the property owners, the new property owners have requested that the city release a portion of that public utility easement. In our process, we ask the applicants to begin by getting a release from all the utility companies first, MG&E, AT&T, all the, I don't have them all off the top of my head, but all of them first. They have received and provided copies of those releases from all the utilities. So their next step is to come to Plan Commission, well, actually go to the Board of Public Works too, and then Council to see if the city is willing to release a portion of that public utility easement. Staff does recommend that this portion of the public utility easement will be released. Public Works staff is in agreement. A strip of the public utility easement will remain. The city does not have any utilities in that section. So I will open it up for any questions.
I think we need to move the resolution.
I'll move approval of resolution R70-23.
Second.
Okay, any question regarding this?
Should we make them move it, the hotel?
Move the building. It is your, I mean, the city's.
Ed, you and I can do it for them.
We'll do it. Rich and I'll take care of it.
Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-70-23 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So next we have another resolution. Is similar to this, Diane?
Yeah, this is a release of an access easement and then another utility easement. And I'm going to take these two together. You all might remember that we've reviewed the Nine Springs project, and even back in January, right? We had Nine Springs come through in January for the development on the Fosside property up on MM. And so they are, you've already approved the preliminary plat, and this is kind of a cleanup because Lot 2, oh, darn it, let me get this up on my screen. I'm going to get there. Oops. Still got it. Okay. Lot 3, 2, and Lot 1 here are part of the proposed preliminary plat for Nine Springs with Royal Capital. And these lots would, of course, be removed, will go away once the final plat is approved. So this is some cleanup. There is existing on Lot 1 a utility easement for a former well. Way back in the day, Lot 1 was proposed to be a city well, and maybe you remember that, Ed, was to be a city well. And for a time, the city actually owned Lot 1, but Lot 1 has been sold back to the current owner, Jim Fosside, but yet this easement is still hanging out there. So item M is going to release, well, item N is going to release that utility access easement for the well. And then item M will release this 30-foot access easement. And this access easement was granted to the city to access the potential future well off of Laniello Court. So items M and N just release these old easements that are just not really needed anymore since the city's not putting a well there. That's all I got.
So my question is, so does the city own that Oh, no, lot is, no.
No. Lot 1, for a time, the city did own it. But I think it was quite a while ago. The city, I guess I don't have it right in here, but the city did sell, the current owner is Jim Fawside, is who's the current owner of it.
So, and he's okay with this?
Yeah, he intends to sell the property for the development that's coming up. So, yes, he is just fine with it. These two easements were granted to the city for our purposes, for the city's purposes of a well that is never going to be built.
Okay.
Maybe I did say that very clearly before, but they're just easements that were granted to the city, and the city has no purpose for these easements. So.
And then when the Royal Capital purchase that land, this lot is going to belong to them.
It will, yes. And if we don't release this easement, it would kind of be a cloud on their title.
Oh, okay.
If that kind of makes sense. So staff is asking for a motion to approve Resolution 7723, and then a second motion to approve 7823 is what we're looking for.
Can we do them both at the same time?
We'll need them separate. Sorry, Rich.
So moved approval of Resolution R7723.
Second.
Any other question? All those in favor of Resolution R-77-23 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So the second.
I'll move to approve Resolution R-78-23.
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor of Resolution R-78-23 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So then we are.
Just one more,
Oh,
y'all.
one more, yes. Oh,
And
my Lord, slow.
Jeff, you have something you want to hand out?
I've already passed it out,
Okay,
I believe.
very good.
Oh,
All right. This one comes to us from Public Works, and this is the city granting a easement, a utility easement to MG&E for their overhead lines. And this is in relation to the Sain reconstruction project. And what is, MG&E has requested an easement to be placed their overhead facilities in an outlot that is just to the west of Sain Road, and it's the city's property, it's the city's outlot. So MG&E is requesting an easement so that they can put their overhead lines there. It's my understanding that's the most practical place to put the overhead lines for MG&E, and so they've requested an easement on city property to do so.
That one is, I was confused with that one.
Yes. So I guess I can go, the non-compensatable, I don't think I even said compensable. Oh, darn.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. But anyways, it just means that if the city has to get in there and move some utilities around, MG&E can't charge us. It'll be their responsibility to move their lines or to adjust their lines.
Oh.
So it just protects the city from any future costs. That's all I have. I recommend approval.
Okay, who's going to do it? Ed, your last one.
Sure. Move approval of Resolution R88-23.
Second.
Any questions?
No, but I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So all those in favor of Resolution R-88-23 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. So we are at the end of the agenda now. Do we have any report from the department?
There is no report this evening.
No? Okay. Any announcement? So we have an announcement is that tonight is Ed's last meeting in plan. I don't want you to go, but.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I really want to thank staff and all the rest of you. I've really enjoyed working with you all. It's been about 30 years, something like that, depending on how you count it. It's a long time. And I just kind of need a break from it. I'm sure you'll do fine without me. One thing I would impart, I think this is important. I think it's something that's easy to lose sight of. It's really important to look out over the long term and really think about what Fitchburg is going to be many, many, many years in the future, not just 5 or 10 years, not just 20 years, but maybe try to look further down the line. And we've tried to do that with our comprehensive plan. I think that that's really important because if you have a long-term comprehensive plan and you stick with it, and everyone knows you're going to stick with it, then you don't have pressure from speculators that are buying land outside of the future urban development area and wanting to approve it. And we dealt with a lot of that before we set out to create a longer-term plan. And a lot of people argued at the time, why do a longer-term plan? We're only required to do a 20-year plan. We update it every 10 years. But the purpose really was so that we could make a determination based on the best ag lands, where our water was, where transportation is, based on quite a number of things, a lot of overlay maps that we use to come up with the current comprehensive plan. And if you stick with it, then smart developers know where to buy land and where not to buy land, and you avoid all those problems down the road. So every now and then this is going to come up every 10 years, roughly. It's going to be a while before we see it again. And some of you will still be here when that happens. And just remember the importance of, and that's what we're supposed to do on Plan Commission anyhow, is support our comprehensive plan. But it helps us all down the road.
So I want to say thank you very much for all your years service. I served with you in Plan Commission a couple of years ago for 2 years, and I learned a lot from you, and I wish you the best. And, I know that you are going to be helping us with the Greenfield.
Yeah, I'd love to. I know you'll need
Yeah.
a steering committee for that,
Yeah.
and I'd love to help out.
Yeah, I would love to have you that, and thank you, Ed, for all your work for 30 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other announcement? No? Oh, so do we need to choose the vice chair now that the chair changed? I don't know. Who is the vice chair?
I was.
Oh, you.
So
Okay.
you need a vice chair.
I need a vice chair. So can we wait?
Yeah, I think we can.
Can you put it in the agenda? Okay, okay.
I will put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
And I think you'll also need to identify a rep, Plan Commission rep to Ag and Rural.
And what about, only one we have to, okay.
Yeah,
so
the Plan Commission elects a
Yeah, yeah.
representative to Ag and Rural.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Good. Transportation, we need another one. You are in transportation? So we need to,
So, what would you?
But you're continuing on.
Yeah, I'm continuing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's great. I'll get that on the next agenda.
Okay, yes, okay. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 So, thank you very much. We are adjourning at 8:33. Thank you very much.